Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to change the shell, the buttons, the window, and the background on the Digimon Pendulum Ver.20th. Just before we begin, guys, I just want to give you a quick warning that, like anything else when you're modding an electronic device, there are things that can go wrong, but as long as you're careful, you shouldn't have too many problems, but I cannot accept any responsibility if something does happen to your VPET. Just putting that out there before you start opening up your VPETs, things can happen. But with that out of the way, today I have a Digimon Ver.20th Pendulum, and I'm going to take the actual inside of the device, the board out, the speaker out, and I'm going to put it into a Beelzebub black version. I'm also going to put the red window and the background from this Digimon into the Beelzebub version, so that it'll be a nice, I have one here that I've kind of already done. It'll be a nice black and red, and well, we're gonna go ahead and get started with this. So really the only thing you're going to need today is just a small screwdriver. I have this one here that I bought from Walmart. You can get them pretty much any general store. It's for fixing glasses. It's just a small flat tip screwdriver. It's really all you're gonna need for this. There won't be any need for any wire cutting or anything crazy like that. It's pretty simple stuff here, guys. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and begin with this. The first thing we're gonna do is take our Digimon and go ahead and remove the back plate for the battery. Just go ahead and take that off, and then we're gonna take the battery out. Like that, and then there's 4 screws here on the back of the device that we're going to go ahead and take off. Now that we have the screws undone, might need to open them a little bit more here. When you first open one of these, the screws are in a little tight, so just be careful. You might have to do a couple extra twists to get to the guts here. So now, we got the screwdriver, got the screws out, we'll just go ahead and open our device. Okay, go ahead and put the screws to the side here. Okay, so our next step, we're going to go ahead and take the actual board out of the device here. There's 4 screws here we just have to undo, and we'll go ahead. Also, it's at this point, if you wanted to remove the keychain, there's this little hoop here. You can just pull that right out if you want to remove the keychain. Okay, now with that done, we can go ahead and remove the board. First thing you want to do when you come to removing the board is I like to lift up on the little plastic bit right here that covers the prongs for connection, and then just lift it up and then wiggle the device free. And this is the actual screen, and if you want to change your background, all you have to do is pull this little plastic frame on the back out, and then you just remove the little sleeve of paper, and then you can change it out with a different background. And then if you would want to, if you don't like the clacking sound of the pendulum, all you have to do is remove this tiny little screw here, and then it pops out. I don't really recommend it unless you really do not like the sound of it clacking around in there while you're shaking it. Personally, I don't really care for the sound, so I usually take it out. But that's all up to preference, really. Now, if you want to remove the buttons, all you have to do is just gently pull them out. Be careful when you're doing this part though that you don't rip your buttons accidentally, because that can happen. But just be careful. And there you go. Alright. And now if you want to remove the screen, or not the screen, the window, excuse me, there are these 4 prongs here, and all you have to do is bend one of them back just to kind of get it started. And then usually they just kind of pop out like that. Oh, Butterfingers. And then you could just take it and put in whatever different one you want. I'm just going to go ahead and put this one back on. Now when you're putting one of these back in, all you really have to do is just use your fingers to pop those little doodads on the end. The clips, just pop those back in. They can be a bit stubborn though. But once you get one in, they all just kind of start popping right back into place. Okay. Alright. So that's taking out the buttons, taking out the window. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to remove the speaker from the back part of the shell next. Also guys, if you do have an issue when you're taking out, real quick before we get to the removing of the speaker, if you do have an issue where your pendulum becomes loose, there's a tiny little wire, it's super small, like, yeah, it took a little while for my camera to focus, that might come loose when you're taking the buttons out. Just be very careful. If you do have to, if this does happen, it just falls out, I'll show you where it connects to real fast. It connects, as soon as my focus works, sorry my camera sucks, you connect one loop right here and then the other one right there on that little divot right there. And then that keeps it from not being all loose and gross. So I'm going to do that real quick and then I'll catch up with you guys in just a second. For those of you who do decide to keep the pendulum in the device, I'll show you real quick how to put that back in. It's a little bit more tricky, but not really. This is the piece for the board for the Beelzebub version. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in. All you really have to do with this is just slide it in. Now it can be a little bit more tricky than if you have the pendulum removed, but it's not super hard to do. So, alright, there we go. Pop that back in. Okay, there we go. And then just like with the rest of the video we'll suit it back together and show you how to do it. Okay, so getting to removing the speaker from the back part of the shell. If you look here, we have 4 little tabs that hold the speaker in place. They don't actually need to be there because the speaker is perfectly fitted for each hole on the back of the device. And they're all the same size across all the devices, you know, the Silver Black, Silver Blue, Beelzebumon, Dukemon, all that, it's all fitted the same way. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take our little screwdriver and just bend those tabs upward just a little bit. Also, just be careful with the wires here because sometimes they can come loose. Just be very, very careful of that. You might even try just using your fingernail to lift them up. So that's what I do. They can break off, as I just did, But like I said, the speakers are perfectly fitted anyway, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal if they do break. The speaker will stay in place and it will still work perfectly fine. Now with the tabs all loosened, we're going to remove the speaker. So if you look down here on the very top, well, it looks like the bottom, but it's the top, there's a little tab sticking out for the speaker. What you're going to want to do is just twist it to the right. I'm holding this upside down for the time being, so you just twist that to the right, and that will help loosen the speaker. Next, all we got to do is just pop it out. The tabs removed. This should be pretty simple to do. Okay, and then just gently. Do be careful though, because there can be a little bit of excess glue in my case. But there's the speaker completely removed, and there's your Digimon without the shell, the buttons, background, all that good stuff. So I'm gonna go grab my Beelzebumon version 20th, and we're gonna put this into there. Okay, guys, so I went ahead and I opened up my Beelzebumon black version. So like I said before, when you're changing the background, all you gotta do is remove this little plastic square piece, pull the sheet of paper out, and then put your new sheet of paper in. Pretty easy. I also went ahead and I removed the pendulum, because like I said when I was explaining the removal of the pendulum bit, I personally don't really care for the sound of it clacking when I shake it, and it really doesn't have any effect on anything because it's not connected to the actual device in any way. So yeah. Alright, so I have our Digimon version 20th here and ready to go. Also, real quick, just to mention, there's this little bit that goes over to cover the connecting prongs. Always remember to change that if you want to have matching collars and whatnot. It just slides right off the prongs. I'm gonna go ahead and slide these guys back onto here real fast. Okay, and then they just sit right like that. And then when you pop it back in, just make sure that the little plastic bit is sitting in the front part of the shell neatly, like so. Alright, and then all we have to do is put our 4 screws back in here. Okay, now that we've got the boards securely in the front piece, I'm going to show you how to put the speaker into the back piece here. So, what we do is we take the speaker, and if you notice, I've already went ahead and took the prongs out of the black one here. It's kind of hard to see. Here, I'll pull that up a little bit. I went ahead and took the prongs off of there so that the whole experience is just easier. And next, we're just going to, you want to pop it in with that little tab, that little thing sticking out right there, heading face up towards the outward projecting prong here, heading face up on the device basically. And then you just pop the speaker into place. Like I said, just be careful with those wires, they can be finicky. And then there, it's sitting in the device nice and pretty. And then we just go ahead and flip the place back over and put it together. There we go. Now we just got to screw the back plate back on. Alright, now if that's nice and tight, we'll put our battery in, like so. Oh, speaker's working fine. And there we go. Pendulum 20th. Now we just put the battery case back on top of it, twist that up, and voila, a custom Digimon Pendulum version 20th. You just go ahead and set the time, and as you can see, it has the Deep Saver's egg in it because that's the first egg you get in Digimon, obviously. Also, if whenever after you're done with everything, you got everything back together and screwed all back together, if for some reason it doesn't power on immediately when you press put the battery back in, just go ahead and hit the reset button, and that should kickstart things back to normal. But yeah, that's all there really is to it, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message on YouTube. I can answer pretty much any questions you may have. It's not really a hard process. It's just like with anything else when you're modding, you just got to be careful of what you're doing. So that's it for today's video. Thank you all for watching, and have a good night. Bye.